So we started talking about linear inequalities yesterday. And we're going to continue that today. So at the first warm-up, we're going to determine if an ordered pair is a solution algebraically. So this is like what we were doing yesterday in that table. Okay? So the question for example 1 says, is the ordered pair a solution of y is greater than x minus 3? So what we're going to do is we're going to plug in the x and y value to the inequality. So my y value is 2, so I'm going to say 2 is greater than x is 1 minus 3. So then 2 is greater than, I'm going to simplify that right side. So what is 1 minus 3? Negative 2. So is 2 greater than negative 2? Yes. Yeah, so this statement is true. So 1, 2 is a solution. I'm going to give you a moment. I want you to try B. Same inequality, y is greater than x minus 3. All right, so let's plug in for x and y. So my y value is negative 7. So we have negative 7 is greater than, the x value is negative 3. So then I can simplify that right side. What is negative 3 minus 3? Negative 6. Remember, negative 3 minus 3, so if you go down 3 and down 3 more, we went down 6, right? That would be if we multiplied. It would be 9 if we multiplied, but we're subtracting. So is this statement true or false? False. So negative 3, negative 7?
Is not.
Beautiful. Is not a solution. So negative 3, negative 7 is not a solution. All right, so yesterday we had talked about plugging in a point. We had even graphed them in the calculator and kind of moved the points around, right? So our next example, we're going to actually graph an inequality. This is a lot like graphing lines. It's a lot like graphing a line, only with a little more. We're going to shade for the inequality. So the first thing I'm going to do, I've got y is greater than x minus 2. I'm going to ask myself, what is my b? Where do we begin? Negative 2. That's that b value there, right? And then what's my slope? It's the coefficient of x, and so it's 1 this time. All right. So after that, because that's going to give us our line, but I have to ask myself, what kind of line are we going to graph? Is it going to be a solid or a dashed line? Dashed, remember? Because if we look at our inequality, this is greater than. Greater than would give us a dashed line. If it had said or equal to, if it had been an underlined inequality, it would have been a what kind of line? Solid. So if it's greater than, we're going to say it's a dashed line. All right. And then this is the part that really makes it our inequality when we graph. Where do we shade? Are we going to shade above or below? Below. Well, look. This says y is greater than. Greater than is going to be everything above. We're going to shade above. And we're going to talk a little more in just a moment about how we can double check that. Because some lines, especially really, really steep lines, it can be hard to tell which way is above and which way is below. Or if you have a negative slope versus a positive slope, it can get kind of tricky. So I'm going to give you guys a trick to check. So let's go ahead and graph this line. So I'm going to begin at -2. And our slope is 1, so I'm going to go up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1. I'm going to go ahead and draw all of the points I can, because the more points I have, the more accurate my line will be. All right, and then I want you to use a straight edge, use a ruler. I'll come around and bring out some rulers. We can grab some. And I want you to draw me a dashed line. If you draw a solid line by accident, that's fine. All right. And I'm going to draw a dashed line. That's okay. If you drew a solid line by accident, just go back with your eraser and erase a little bit. All right, and then we're going to shade above. So this is the tricky part. So which side is above? On the left side of this line or the right side of this line? The left side of this line is going to be above. So you don't have to shade in every single little piece. That's going to be a lot of time wasted. Just kind of, just so you can see neatly shade in the side. Be careful not to go over the line, because that would make it incorrect, right? That would make it below, or a little bit below, right? Very nice. So real quick, I want to talk about, well, what if I'm unsure? Because some of these can be kind of tricky. This one's kind of obvious which side's above, right? But if you've got a really steep line, it can be a little tricky, which I'm going to give you a steep line here in a minute. Well, not always. What if this had been a negative slope? The left would have been below, right? So here, if you choose a point, here, 0, 0 is a nice point, right? And if I plug 0, 0 in, I can plug in 0, 0, so that'd be 0 is greater than 0 minus 2. 0 is greater than -2. Is that true? Is 0 greater than -2? Yes. So if you plug in a point and it's true, then you're going to shade in the area that point is. What if I'd plugged in a point and it was false? Then don't shade that side, shade the other side, right? 0, 0 is a nice point. A hint, a word of advice, stay away from points that lie on the line, though. Because it could be or it couldn't be. It just depends on if it's a solid or dotted line. And if it's on the line, how do you know which side to shade? So try to stay away from points that are on the line. All right. Example 3. So we've got some vertical and horizontal lines here. Notice in both of these examples, my equations have only one variable. I've got x is greater than -1, and y is greater than or equal to 2. So we graphed vertical and horizontal lines just a few weeks ago, so now we're going to do it with some inequalities. So let's do example A first. So here I've got x is greater than -1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to -1 on the x-axis. And I'm going to draw a line. So is that going to end up being a vertical line or a horizontal line?
Horizontal.
Horizontal? Vertical, we want to go straight up and down. We want all of the -1s on the x-axis, right? So is that going to be a solid line or a dotted line? Dotted. So I'm going to draw a vertical dotted line at -1.
Miss,
Yes, sir.
on the homework, after I sent it, it said that test ID.
Oh, that's just for a new one.
Yeah, that's the newest one. What in the world do I do?
Nothing, I don't think. Give me a minute and I'll check it when I give you guys the
See,
assignment.
I did it all,
Mm-hmm.
and then I submitted it.
Give me a minute and I'll check it. I can't check it right now.
Okay.
All right. So if it says x is greater than, should I shade to the left or to the right of this vertical line? Right. To the right. Everything to the right is going to be greater than. So I'm going to shade to the right. And there's a problem just like this example 3 in your homework this week. All right. I want you to try B, and then we'll come back and check it. So, for part B, we've got y is greater than or equal to 2. So I'm going to go to the y-axis at 2. At 2. And I'm going to draw a horizontal line across. So is this going to be a solid line or a dotted line? Solid, because it says or equal to, right? A trick to remember, if your inequality is underlined, it's going to be solid. All right, so I'm going to draw a solid line. All right. And my inequality says greater than, so should I shade above or below this line? Above. So I want to shade everything on top. All right. In our last example, I gave you an inequality, and we're going to write the equation for it. I gave you a graphed inequality, and we're going to write the equation. So I think there's 2 or 3 problems like this one in your homework this week. Okay? So example 4, I know on your handout it may be hard to see which side's shaded. So see where my yellow shading is here? That's the side that should be shaded. So it's everything. Is that going to be above or below?
Below.
Everything below your line. Beautiful. All right. So I'm going to start with, what is the B? Where does this line begin on the y-axis? At 1. So my B value is 1. Then my slope. So we're going to count up and over to get to the next point. I go up 1, 2 units and over 1. I could even pick another point, up 1, 2 units over 1. 1, 2 over 1. So what's my slope if I go up 2 and over 1 to get to the next point? 2. So my slope is 2. So I know that in my inequality, that's going to give me 2x plus 1. But what we have to find out now is which inequality is going to go in that box. Well, here we're shaded below, and it's going to be a solid, so it's going to be less than or equal to. That's it. Beautiful.